I'm here with Musa Mngadi, CEO of the African Lotteries and Gaming Association.
That's correct.
There are three pillars that the association focuses on: fighting illegal gambling,
Yeah.
fighting for player protection,
Yeah.
and coordinating regulation across the continent.
100%.
What intervention or interventions do you think have been the most effective in fighting illegal gambling?
Illegal gambling is a problem across all jurisdiction, and it's not even in Africa.
Exactly.
Uh,
For sure.
it's a global issue.
Yeah.
And we are obviously partnering with people who are active in this space
Yeah.
to bring in the technology and to bring in the enforcement services that can enhance and help regulators and operators to be able to fight this illegal
Of course.
gambling. Now, it's unfortunate that it's not something that can be eradicated overnight, even though we have the technology to do so. We can literally eradicate illegal gambling online overnight,
Yeah.
but we can't do that because we have laws
Of
and
course.
that we have to respect.
Yeah.
So it's important to have associations like ALGA to be able to speak to different jurisdictions, to to lobby certain laws to be in place so that these type of enforcements are possible.
Exactly.
Without the laws, we can't enforce,
Yeah.
and without the necessary n- um, I won't say. You see, we need the attention
Yeah.
that states, the jurisdictional statutory states need to know.
Yeah.
So right now they are aware that they are losing quite a lot of money.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
it wasn't something that was publicly aware of. Now there's lots of stats, there's a lot of numbers that we can actually start pulling from. And another thing is you need to understand that illegal gambling. Um, the enforcement of it is a statutory requirement. It's
Yes.
part of the compliance cost that an operator pays for. It's not an operator's job to
Yeah.
stop illegal gambling.
Yeah.
But because it's such a big ecosystem and it actually affects everybody,
Of course.
operators have to play their part because they need to protect their environment. They need to
Yeah.
protect the the you know the sector that they are actually operating in. So it's important that we bring in operators and we bring in regulators to be able to do that. Now, if we don't do that, what happens? The regulators just clamp on the operators in terms of compliance, and they drive the compliance costs up because they are trying to react to all of this, then trying to solve
Yeah.
problems
Yeah.
that they can't solve because they're working in isolation.
Exactly.
So it's very, very important that we have associations like ALGA that is able to bridge that gap and bring all these stakeholders together to
Yes.
ensure that certain things happen and
Yes.
certain priorities from government, because it's not just the regulators issue, you know. As I said, the enforcement is a government issue, so we have to go beyond the regulators. We have to
Yeah.
go to the finance, the ministries, or whichever ministry the gambling sector falls into, to put priority in terms of why these things have to happen.
Yeah.
And when it comes to player protection, unfortunately, I was having a conversation just now with our committee, our chairperson from our committee's our steering committee,
Yeah.
and he was just blunt about it, and it made me think. Really, he is 100% right. When it comes to player protection, in the whole ecosystem of gambling, the house wins, the operators wins, and the players, do they win? Who
No.
loses out of all those three people?
Yeah. It's the
It's
players
the players. And
every
that's and
time.
that's the nature of gambling.
Yes.
It's the players. So
Yes.
when he mentioned this, it made me realize that we cannot just drive the concept of responsible gambling as if we have to deal with addicts. No, it's
Yeah. Of
the
course.
whole system
Of
that
course.
we need to sort out.
Yes.
We need to sort out the whole gambling system and understand what it does and the nature of it. So we need to protect the players, and our thinking and our mindset needs to change.
Yeah. Um, You've hinted at fragmentation, and ALGA works a lot towards maybe not total harmonization, even within a European framework. That is something that is
Very
so
difficult.
difficult to achieve,
But you're
right?
doing it well.
Um,
Let me tell you something. We are learning a lot from the Europeans, and to tell you the truth, we are learning a lot from what is possible
yes,
and how to redefine what is possible in terms of harmonization. Harmonization is not just about standards and just drawing a line in the sand and saying this is how we're going to do things, because you have to respect each jurisdiction that
exactly.
there's sovereignty that you have to think about.
Yes,
There's tax regimes that you have to consider. There's currency regimes that you have to consider. There's a lot that you have to consider within each jurisdiction, and that makes it very difficult in terms of how you harmonize. But you
of
need to
course.
understand that the whole continent or globally, there's, let me just give you an example. Um, what is the main currency that works globally?
Trust.
No, 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 I'm talking about the physical currency.
Oh, a
What?
physical and
Yes,
actual
an actual
currency.
currency.
Is there one that works all over the world? The
Okay, let's say that works. Let's say 80%, 70% of the time. What would you say it is?
the dollar?
Okay, all right. Now our stats, when we look at the loss of gaming
Yeah,
in Africa, we convert all these currencies into the dollar.
yeah,
Do you understand? So
yes,
that is the basis of saying there is harmonization.
yeah,
Harmonization is possible.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we're not saying let's make one currency, but the fact that we have to compare apples with apples and understand what is happening, we convert all of this into the dollar,
yes,
so that we can understand, even though we are in different jurisdictions.
yes,
So harmonization is happening.
yeah,
It's just that we have to just change our framework,
yeah,
our mind in
yeah.
terms of what is harmonization and what does it look like to you. You
Very
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. You talked about tax.
Yes.
Now, the less, the more regulation there is, the more money, hopefully, is moving away from the illegal market. And of course, one easy way for a country to make money is to raise gambling tax. But where is the balance?
Not gambling tax. Look, countries raise taxes on citizens. That's the
Yeah,
easiest the
exactly,
easiest place. I
exactly.
mean, yeah, in South Africa they just raise your VAT, or in any
Yes,
other countries
yeah,
they just raise the easiest. When you comply as a child, it's easier for you to beat on the child that is complying than that child that doesn't comply. Because it's harder to get the child that doesn't comply in the line. So so it's just a nature. It's nature in terms of that we always look for the easiest way of trying to solve
yes,
a
yes,
problem. And unfortunately, raising gambling tax is not the right or the easiest or the right way of
yeah.
doing so. And you
It's
can't,
probably easy.
it's easy, but it's not the right thing to do
Exactly,
because
exactly.
it has obviously consequences. But now, what you need to also understand that um, when people think that they're going to run away from a jurisdiction and go and close shop because they are not happy with the tax regime or
Yes,
whatever, it doesn't help because you are saying you're moving from a legal framework and you're
yeah,
going to start working on an illegal framework
yes,
because those your customers are not going to stop playing.
exactly.
So you are
Yes,
taking a stance and saying, I'm going to go into the gray area
yeah,
because of these high costs
yeah,
of compliance.
yeah,
Now, as I said, compliance is a responsibility. I mean, the enforcement of compliance is a responsibility of the state,
yes,
meaning enforcement of that. It's the responsibility of the state, meaning they need to ensure that operators that are operating in that environment are operating in a fruitful manner to be able to actually
yeah,
make returns on their
yes,
investment. That's the only reason why they are
yes,
there
yes,
and operating. Everybody's there to make a return on their
yeah,
investment. So it's imperative to have that sort of balance and
Yeah.
let regulators and government understand that, just beating the child that is already doing
Compliant.
compliant is not going to solve the issue. It's a
Yes.
broader
Yes. And
complex.
you mentioned the fact that operators might move to, let's say, friendlier jurisdictions. If an operator
Yeah.
stays, though, what is keeping the players from moving away? And for me, that is an even higher danger
Yeah.
than when operators move away,
Yeah.
because it means that the higher taxes are pushing
Yeah.
players towards more unregulated
Unregulated.
markets,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
and very often a player, you mentioned addicts,
Yeah.
but for me, a healthy ecosystem
Yeah.
is one where gaming, betting is seen as an alternative form of entertainment
Yeah.
rather than spend $100, let's use the currency,
Yeah.
on going out for a meal. I want to spend them at the casino.
Yeah.
I want to spend them playing, putting a few bets on my favorite sports,
That is what gambling is about. It's an
Exactly.
entertainment.
Exactly.
Gambling is not supposed to be what it is right now, where people are using gambling to increase their earnings or to
Yeah.
increase or to survive.
Yes. Yes.
The whole mindset of gambling has changed, and it's on to us as regulators and operators to be able to direct
Yeah.
that type of, because we won't have a sustainable market.
Yes.
You know, we won't
Do
have
you
a
think
sustainable
that
market.
as the industry uh, develops more in the region and players become more mature, do you think their mentality will change?
You know, um, I'm a true believer in enforcement.
Yeah.
Um, Without putting in barriers, human curiosity allows humans to step over without. Do you understand? You
Yes.
need to have
Yeah.
enforcement.
Yes.
And enforcement is a way of making sure that you have a mature market,
Yeah.
you have a sustainable market.
Yes.
So if you're not going to provide the enforcement that is required to, number one, stop illicit trade, because that alone, you can reduce your tax requirements from your compliance operators. But if you just fixed your nonsense and just ensure that people don't do illicit trade,
Yeah.
and if you focused on laws that actually enforce that, I had the pleasure of going to Botswana, and Botswana is a country outside of South Africa. And unlike South Africa, it's a country that has the death penalty. You know, you know what a death penalty means to you? It means you're not going to just do whatever that you want to do in that country, because there's a sense of enforcement.
Yeah.
When you step a bit out of that line, the line is drawn. This is the consequences.
Yeah.
So when operators and players know that these are the consequences,
Yes.
you will start getting a matured industry, a
Yeah.
matured sector, a
Yeah.
responsible sector, where you find that there will be consistent growth and other innovation that will be able to be fertile to that sector.
Yes.
You know.
And from ALGA's perspective,
Yes.
what does this sustainable enforcement in practical terms look like?
Oh, listen, listen.
How much time do we have?
I, I can go on. I can go on and on. Look, when you find, I used to love being in the horse racing sector, and
Yeah.
I still feel like that's where gambling needs to start putting more investment into, because it builds such a big ecosystem.
Yes.
Unlike just, it's not about just gambling.
Yes.
It's like casinos.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah.
quite nostalgic in that
Yeah.
way, where I
Yeah.
love certain
The
things.
UK
Yes,
do
you
it
know.
very well over
Yeah.
there.
So my enforcement is not necessarily punishing your operators it's about growing the actual market, where it's not just about gambling. It's about, you know enjoying what is supposed to be happening, enjoying and getting entertained within this market, because that's what it's basically about.
Final question. What is your vision for the future? If you were to think of a utopia,
Yeah.
what would it look like for the African continent?
Um, I wish there weren't any borders,
Okay.
and borders in the sense of um,
Limitations?
limitations. You know, we are literally one continent, and that's what we are trying to strive as ALGA, to show that it's not just about South Africa, it's not just about Nigeria, it's not just about Kenya,
Yeah.
which are high in revenue and doing very well in the gaming sector, but it's about the whole continent.
Yes.
And if the whole continent actually thrives, everybody wins.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.